Hello. So I kind of just want to say, first of all, that I'm super excited about this channel and like contributing to it on a more regular basis. And I find it really cool that there's the potential for dialogue with a community of people that I don't know, but I'm super intrigued by the idea of having dialogue with you all. So I think it's really cool that there's been a bit of engagement from you, and really encourage that. I think it's so awesome, and yeah, I feel really supported inside of this. So thank you so much. Um, so I'm gonna talk to you about a float experience that I had. It's one of the more memorable ones. And it's also going to get into some methods of exploring your inner realms of being while inside of the sensitive spaces that you can get into inside of the tank. One of the sensitive realms that I'm talking about is what's called the hypnagogic state, which is a state that we enter and come out of pre and post sleep. So I don't know if you've ever experienced falling asleep and then receiving a really beautiful or amazing or inspiring idea, and you're really excited about it, but you're so tired that you don't write it down, and then you wake up and you've forgotten it. So that's an area where there is a lot of information at your disposal, and it's just a matter of being lucid and intentional inside of that space. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that and inside of the float tank, but also keep in mind that the practices that I'm going to walk you through is something that you can also do outside of the tank, and you don't have to be, floating in darkness and having that whole experience, although I think everyone should get on the float train. Just know that it's also something you can incorporate into like a journaling ritual if you want as well. So I'll start with kind of the setting. So I set myself up for a 2-hour float. Well, sorry, 2.5-hour float. And halfway through, I had passed out. I was pretty tired that day, actually. I fell asleep, and then I woke up and was experiencing a little bit of panic, which can happen sometimes when I wake up inside the tank, even after floating, 200 times now. The panic came, and I knew that it was there, and then it just left. It wasn't like a huge deal. It was just kind of like, oh, there it is. Yeah, no, it's cool. This is like my bed. I'm super comfortable here. It's all good. And I was also really super excited because it's in the same way, it's very comparable to waking up inside of a lucid dream. If you can stay relaxed and stay really still, you can have some pretty colorful dialogue with yourself. So I was excited and I was still, and I decided, okay, I'm gonna have a dialogue with myself. So what am I gonna ask myself? Let's see. Okay, so the first thing that came to mind is, what does my mind look like? So I sat with that question. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. What does my mind look like? Yeah. And but still maintaining nice and calm, just really excited and calm. And the shapes started coming. I started to see the shape of an octagon, and the octagon was 2-dimensional at first, and then it just became 3-dimensional, so it sort of started to stack on top of itself, and in a grid-like structure, kind of like the draft of an architect, and then an architect's draft of the building, and then I fit myself inside of that onto one of the walls of the octagon, and I guess there's about 30 levels in this space, or 33, actually. Feels like, yeah, it felt like 33. I was just corrected, in the space, and I was on the 6th floor, and I'm on the 6th floor looking out at all of the different levels, and the surfaces are all mirrored, They're not colored at all. There's a bit of confusion about what color the place is. I can't really grasp it, but it is coming into shape. I'm just trying to get more clarity on that. So I ask, what color is this space? I'm inclined towards the color white, but it doesn't totally feel right. And the mirrors are pretty prominent, and they're reflecting images of this infinite. They're just reflecting infinity in all directions. Yeah, what color is this space? Where is the color? And my mind, I guess, responds back to me saying, the color comes from the people who populate this space. And well, that's interesting. There are people in there. What are the people representing? Well, the people are your thoughts and emotions. Oh, right. Yes, of course. So, okay. So now I'm looking at the space, and the levels have now become populated with people, and they're all walking around. It's like feels like an office building. Everyone's just kind of, walking around. Some people are acquaintances, others are friends. You can feel the relationship between them if you want to really fix on a cluster of people. Some of them are alone, observing other people. Some of them are alone, not observing any of them, except just sort of aimlessly wandering, like just sort of staring off into space. Some are just wandering by themselves. Some are in pairs, some are embracing. Some are being playful. They're all the dynamics that you'll see inside of social dynamics. So that was really interesting, and they'll interact with each other at some point, and then time will pass, and then they'll go up an escalator. Oh yeah, forgot to mention, there are escalators on each level. I'd say there's about 4 escalators per level. The escalators only go so high as the next level, but there are so many of them. You can just go up and down, pretty easily. But like I mentioned, I'm inside of an elevator. So the interesting thing about that is I'm inside of a channel that can bring me directly to the top or directly to the bottom if I want to. But it's not really, what I understand about this vessel is that it's not a place for me to accelerate to the top. I'm not here to accelerate to the top. I'm here in this elevator to observe the space. So not going to go climb up, but I am curious about what it looks like through that window on the ceiling. So I look up, and I'm fixing on what the ceiling looks like, and it's a window, shaped like an octagon, and there's a big bright light coming through it, and it's bouncing off of the walls, and it feels like it's charging the space. It feels like it's moving the people. It's creating the energy that's happening inside of that, and that just feels pretty awesome just to understand that. And I think to myself, well, I'm really curious what this room looks like from the perspective of that window. So I am immediately granted access to that perspective, and I'm now looking down at the space through the window, all the way up on the 33rd or 34th, I guess, I don't know, level. And staring down, I see all the mechanics and the way everything's shifting around, and it really just feels very systematic and mechanical and just but organic at the same time. It's just moving like this, shifting around, and it feels kind of like a kaleidoscope would feel. You're the way you interact with kaleidoscope, you're twisting it and looking through it, and depending on what it is that your lens is fixing on, it's bending and refracting and mirroring little snippets of what you're looking at, and it's just bouncing off of itself. So in the same way, that's kind of how the environment is expressing itself in there. So on each level of this building, are also doors. So there's escalators and there's doors, and then there's this weird, awesome glass elevator channel thing. And down all the doors, I mean, I can see some people are coming and going out of the doors. I get a brief glimpses here and there that there's like a long hallway, and I get the impression just by thinking about where the hallway goes. I get the understanding of where they go. So I see long hallways with doors on either side, and they're pretty long. But then they always turn a corner. I think about the shapes that those hallways make, and it confirms that those shapes are also octagons. So the hallways are making octagons. It's just a kind of like a wallpaper, like of a honeycomb wallpaper. And so, but it's also, it's interesting because they don't really necessarily feel like they're locking together. They're separated by these narrow corridors. So there's that aspect when you're looking at it in a really flattened way, like a two-dimensional way. But then there's a third-dimensional way, which is like, yes, okay, they're octagons, but they're also these like pipes. So I'm able to sort of perceive the shape of an octagon-shaped pipe, rotating in different ways, and then understanding that there's branches coming off of this pipe, which lead off to other pipes, octagon-shaped pipes, and then more branches and more octagon pipes, and just keeps going forever like that. And I'm not 100% sure what the floor looks like of this place. That seemed to be a mystery to me, but it seems, because there's an importance of what the floor symbolizes. It's a really big question if you think about it. In the same way that you're looking through a kaleidoscope, I'm looking through the eye of that. But what am I looking? What is at the other end of that lens? I couldn't really gain access to that, but if I ask the question, what is it looking at? The answer is immediately itself. So that was fun. Yep, that was a pretty fun little journey, and it stuck with me, and I continue to think about it, and it continues to share information with me. And like I said, this is something you can do outside of the tank, not necessarily floating on water. You can do it with your journal, just sort of asking questions in a really calm space. Maybe meditate for 5 or 10 minutes, and then have your journal with you, and then just sort of ask questions, or just not write anything down until you're done. But it's cool to write them down, because you can then sort of like reflect back on the questions and examine what the answers were. And the answers could be so many different things. The answers could be words, they could be pictures, they could be memories, songs, like little earworms that sort of funnel their way into your brain. There's so many different things, and it's really cool to look at the collage of all of it together and try and understand the relationship between those things. Even if you don't really seem to get a really clear understanding or a really clear answer to your question, it does start to get your mind in the space of examining the metaphors, and the more you do that, the more clarity you can get on, just understanding yourself and your own mechanics of thinking and of being. And gaining that kind of access of understanding can sort of train you to be, a bit of a mind hacker, which is super fun. And there are unlimited things that you can do with that. So I'm still, I think, maybe in a newbie phase of things, of that whole world. I don't really know a lot of people out there who are doing things like that, though, so who am I to say if I'm a newbie? I have no idea. I just know that this can go to such amazing places if I really just put my focus and energy on exploring life like this. So yeah, really happy to be able to share this with you, and super curious to hear any feedback that anyone might want to share with me. or any resources. If you have anything you want to share, I'll see if I can find any kind of cool links or things, you know, as I go. Right at the moment I don't have any, but I'll do some research and then just sort of share stuff that I find as well in future videos. So so yeah, I again want to really express my gratitude. I really love that we're all going to be able to have a conversation with each other. I think that's super awesome and want to keep that going. Feel free to ask any questions, and yeah, looking forward to where this all leads. And but for now, I'm just gonna stay right here in the present moment. So yeah, I will see you guys again in the near future. And until then, have a beautiful day.